If she lied about an affair, would she have lied about the murder? Let's bring in our attorney who is standing by. Trial attorney Gabriel Sepulveda-Sanchez is with us. Gabriel, great to have you on. This case is one with a lot of twists and turns. It took the prosecution 3 years before they filed their charges against this defendant and her co-defendant, who we're hearing about, a man who was 20 years her junior. Talk about what you're getting from this agent and the affair, because we know the defense is going to be saying that just because she lied here doesn't mean that she's lying about not planning her husband's murder.
Yeah, I mean, the DA has this witness on to show that the woman can't be trusted, her credibility is not there. Anytime you have inconsistent statements you made prior, whether it's during an investigation, after the arrest, the prosecutor's going to point that out. And basically all they're doing right now is just establishing that this defendant cannot be trusted, and anything things that she say, her testimony, her story of the events is not credible. So it's basically just a witness that they're using to show that this person is culpable, that is guilty, and had a big part in killing Ryan in this case. So basic credibility issues. Whenever, as a trial lawyer, you're always going to want to show that a defendant isn't credible, whether that's in a civil case or a criminal case. It's all about credibility. Juries are assessing credibility of witnesses, and that's what they're doing at this point right now.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned that she, according to prosecutors, had a big part in her husband's death. But let's talk about the fact that we've got two players here, but only one of them is inside of the courtroom to speak or to be live there, not even at the defense table. We don't have Houston Danker, the boyfriend. His trial is not scheduled to begin until August. It doesn't seem like there's any kind of a plea agreement or where he's going to testify in her trial. But what do you think is happening behind the scenes? If prosecutors believe he is the one who pulled the trigger, but that she planned this out with him, are you surprised that they didn't try to get one to flip on the other? Or do you think it may have happened and we just don't know about it?
It could have happened. We might not know about it. They could be, yeah, that could be it too. Maybe there could be something where there's some deal that's going on in the background. There could have been a deal between the DA and the defense attorney to split the two cases up. A lot of speculation there, but there's a good reason for that, the separation, that we just don't know about it right now.
Do you think it would be in his best interest to flip on her? What would make this something where he should be at least saying that she may have planned this out? She was the one who knew about the life insurance policy. It was her husband that they targeted, because the defense right now is that he's the one who did it and he's not sitting there. So does that make it more complicated for prosecutors?
Yeah, it could make it more complicated, but yeah, it would be in his best interest. I mean, if he's looking at a life in prison or a death penalty, and they're offering that deal to, we're going to spare you the death penalty in exchange for testifying against the defendant in this case, would be in his best interest to do that. So not really sure what's going on in the scene, but that's definitely, if that deal was offered to someone with overwhelming evidence against him and it doesn't look good, and something you should probably jump on.
Yeah, I'm sure if we don't see him in this trial, then it wasn't a deal that his attorneys thought was a good idea for him. Gabriel, stand by. We're going to get to a break. When we come back, the jury should be back there in Iowa. We'll be checking in on that case. Also, the one in Connecticut, where we are on a verdict watch. That jury is on a lunch break in the case against Raul Valley, but we will keep you updated and keep our eyes on those courtrooms. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, did Karina Cooper kill her husband in order to continue her affair? We're unpacking today's testimony in the Widow's Words murder trial.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law.
Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage this August on Court TV.
Did you have the knife in your hand at that point?
No.
Where was the knife?
It was in my pocket.
Could you get up?
No.
Why not?
There was just so many people.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are monitoring multiple courtrooms this afternoon. We're on a verdict watch in Connecticut where the murder trial for Raul Valley is going on now. Deliberations have been going. The jury's at a lunch break, but they deliberated for about 2.5 hours already. There you see this defendant who is out on bond walking back to the courthouse from that lunch. And we understand that they are on the record inside of the courtroom. So let's go there live.
All right. Mark that note as a court exhibit. The note reads, "We are hopelessly deadlocked, 11-1 on the charge of murder at count 1. Signed by James Stolman, jury 4. Instruction to continue deliberating and then send them back out to continue their deliberations." Counsel, do either of you wish to be heard on the note?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
So I would ask my to mark this. Thank you. And then I would ask for our jury to be brought in.
We're going to stay here on this courtroom feed while these jurors walk in, but I cannot believe what I'm hearing. I don't think I've ever heard a jury in 2.5 hours come back with a hopelessly deadlocked note. And hopelessly deadlocked is usually what they come back with after several notes of saying, we can't reach a decision. What if we're deadlocked? Hopelessly deadlocked, this judge is going to give them what's considered the dynamite charge, telling them, no, you are the best jury to do this. Go back and keep trying. But there's only so many times a judge can do this. Let's go in and listen.
Counsel, please stipulate that all 12 members of our jury are present.
State will stipulate, Your Honor. Defense stipulates, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I did receive a note from you regarding count 1 and the fact that you are deadlocked on count 1. That has been marked as Court Exhibit 7. Look, I recognize that most of you, if not all of you, have never been through this process before. There are numerous exhibits and many days of evidence to consider. I did instruct you to consider all the evidence. By the court's estimate, at the time that we received the note, which was 12:47 p.m., you had been deliberating for just about 2 hours or less. Please remember, each of the 4 counts must be deliberated upon separately. If you would like to deliberate on counts 2, 3, and 4, and then return to count 1, that is fine. At this point, I simply suggest that you continue with your deliberations. You should review the evidence and the position of each juror to determine if any evidence has been overlooked or any juror's position misunderstood with respect to either the evidence or the law. Please continue to discuss and consider the opinions of other jurors. Kindly explain your views and listen to the views of others. Majority, please listen to what the minority has to say. Minority, please listen to what the majority has to say. Ultimately, you will make up your own mind and decide this case based on your own individual judgment and conscience. But at this time, please return to the jury room to continue on with your deliberations. Thank you.
And with that, the jury is sent back to their deliberations. Keep in mind, 10 days of evidence this jury heard. And in just over 2 hours, they are saying they've already come to the decision that they can't make a decision. Still with us, trial attorney Gabriel Sepulveda-Sanchez. Gabriel, what do you think this means when we've got this short time period and a jury already reaches this indecision?
There's a couple things. I mean, right now, if you're the defendant, you're the defense attorney, you're feeling good about that. You know, you're like, hey, you know what? There's doubt in that room right now. There's some people that are questioning whether this kid should be convicted of murder. And it's interesting with the juries and doing numerous jury trials myself. I've done a lot of focus groups where I had live feeds actually to look into, like have a camera actually watching a deliberation in a mock trial. And it's amazing to see what happens back there. And what's going on is you're really hoping as a defense attorney that those people that are on your side back there, their stronger personalities come out and they push their opinions, or they try to persuade and flip those other jurors that aren't sure. There's some people in there that are just not sure which way to go. And right now, as a defense attorney, you're hoping that the strong personalities, the alphas in that room say, hey, you know what? This kid is innocent. He was afraid. He brought a knife. He didn't have intent to kill. And this is a tragic accident that happened. You're hoping that they really go back there. Those guys that are on your team in the jury room or start speaking up and start flipping the people that are not sure. Because that's what happens at a deadlock jury. You just have these guys that they don't know what to do. They're kind of, maybe weaker personalities, you could say, or, not afraid to speak up. So now the prosecutor wants their alpha, their strong personalities to flip those people that are not sure. And then that defense attorney really wants his people, his jurors back there that are for him to go ahead and flip those other jurors. So right now you're going to have those strong personalities come out in that jury room. And doing these focus groups, these mock trials before some of the bigger cases I've handled, it's interesting to see the psychology that goes back behind those deliberations. That's what's going on right now. You're really hoping that those strong personalities come out.
It sounds like there are some strong convictions out the gate, because for them not to want to go deeper, and perhaps it'll take this urging from the judge to go back and actually talk through this stuff. You see there, we've got our verdict clock going again, starting at 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's all they have been out this morning, and then they went to lunch. But it sounds like they immediately took that vote and apparently had talks about it and just didn't feel that they could come to a decision, because it just seems, Gabriel, that there would be more that they would need to come to a decision on a mistrial. Who do you think this favors? Is the defense going to be happy with a mistrial if that is the case here, or are they hoping that this jury does go ahead and push forward?
They hope that this jury makes a decision. You want a not guilty, you want an acquittal. A mistrial, hey, that's not bad either. You just have to retry this case again. But if you're a defense attorney, you want that acquittal right now. A mistrial, it gives the prosecutor some more time to rethink the evidence and rethink the approach. But that's not bad either. But you want to get a decision today. And I think if they're deadlocked right now, they're not sure. I think that could be a good sign for them. There's not enough overwhelming evidence to put this kid away in prison for life. So if I'm a defense attorney, I'm feeling a little bit good about this.
And reminding our viewers, these jurors have a lot to work with. It's not just murder, guilty or not guilty. They have the option of either murder, first-degree manslaughter of a reckless nature, and then under all of those assault charges, they also have more. And what do you think about the fact that they say that they are deadlocked on the first charge, which is the murder of Jimmy McGrath, or the death of Jimmy McGrath, that the prosecution says is a murder? There's also the assault of the 3 other individuals that it seems like they can still continue to deliberate over, or may want to. I would feel like if it's self-defense on count 1, then that applies to the other 3 who were injured. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. Obviously, you want that murder. You want that murder charge. You want to get a dismissal on that or not guilty. But yes, I think a lot of the same evidence they're using for those other charges, self-defense is a defense to each of those other charges too. So it could go. I think it could go well for him if they're questioning whether he had a reasonable fear of his life, during that mob attack, and that he didn't have an intent to stab anyone. So, I think if they're worried about the murder thing, that the self-defense is they put on some good evidence for self-defense, and the jury's believing that's going to help them with the other charges too.
All right, let's remind our viewers of these competing positions that were taken in the closing arguments. Here's just a snippet of what we heard from the prosecution and the defense in the case against Raul Valley.
This case is about Raul Valley, the defendant, who brought a knife and provoked a fight and stabbed 4 kids 9 times, killing 1.
They were intent on pummeling him, and no way to know whether or not that was going to stop until he was dead. This is what self-defense looks like. There's no manual for self-defense.
All right, Gabe, what do you think we are going to see? How often do Allen charges work, or dynamite charges, when judges send them back in to keep deliberating? Actually, in 2 high-profile cases that we've just covered, the Diddy trial that happened last week, the jury first thought they were deadlocked on RICO, but they went back and kept going. The Karen Reed trial, they initially were asking about being hung and eventually came to a verdict. So do you think we'll still see a verdict here?
I think so. Sometimes the judge, you just got to have that confidence in the judge telling you, get it back in there. You guys can do this. Maybe reread the instructions. Sometimes they'll make a little note. They're not sure about little things. So some of those notes might be addressed by the judge. So I think they're going to come to a verdict today. This is with the jury trials, and I wish there'd be some sort of change where you can have a standby lawyer back there with them that's completely objective and just kind of helps them kind of interpret these instructions, the jury instructions. Because I feel through my experiences, sometimes the jurors are just so confused. They might read into the law too much. They're just not sure what this word means. During the jury trials that we've had, it's just the judge just reads off instructions and reads them to the record. And it's like a robot. Where, our job as lawyers is to explain the law and what that means. But sometimes they just need a little assistance back there.
Wouldn't that change our system so much? That would really change things if they had access to an unbiased lawyer, because you're right, we get so many questions, and then later when we interview jurors, it seems like they were completely confused about the instructions.
They're confused. It happens all the time.
It really
results go the wrong way sometimes because they're just not sure how to interpret things.
Gabriel, stand by. We're going to squeeze in a break. We are not going to stop monitoring what's happening there in Connecticut. If there's any change now that these jurors are back deliberating after they say they are deadlocked, we will let you know. The jury in Iowa is back inside of the courtroom and listening to testimony in the case against Karina Cooper. So we'll go there next after this. Stay with us.